I, 45 female, have been married to my husband, 56, since I was 18. I have a son, 27, and a daughter, 22. We're not rich, but decently well off. We've always planned for our son to study abroad in a Western country for university since he was a child, and this is expensive due to the high international tuition fees. This went as planned for my son. However, ever since I got a laptop and phone with the internet, I've used it to learn new things on my own from sources like MIT courseware and YouTube, and I really wanted my daughter to be an educated woman. I also stopped believing in my religion while my husband is very devout. I pretend to be religious and follow our customs for the sake of the marriage. I only have high school level education. The plan for my daughter was to find a boy from a nice family for her to marry and not go to university or go to a local one if she wanted to. I convinced my son that these days boys from good families want an educated woman for status reasons, even if she doesn't work, and that if our daughter had a Western degree, she could marry into an elite family. It worked, and he paid for her to attend a top university which she got into, which is better than the one my son went to. My daughter, after leaving, also confided to me that she didn't believe in our religion anymore and started living a different lifestyle, one I could never have. She recently graduated, got a work visa, stayed in the Western country and has a good job there. My husband got really angry when he heard and felt really cheated and blamed me as I persuaded him to pay for her education and let her go. He even found a picture of her online of a university competition she did where she won a prize and posed a picture without a head covering. So I'm feeling guilty since his money let her go to university and now we may not get to see her again. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There is nothing close to idiot for any mother who wants their daughter to have a better life. Allowing her to make her own life choices is awesome. You knew she no longer followed or believed, so why would forcing her into marriage be good? Mother to mother, I am so proud of you. You found a way to protect your daughter and give her the life you could never have. You secured her future. And the resources were family resources, meaning it's okay for you or your husband to spend. It's not his money that paid for her education, it is your jointly held money, and you have an equal right to it and how it is spent, according to most Western nations' marriage and property rights laws. Your husband may have had a job where he earned that salary, however courts around the world have ruled that the job you were doing at home, raising your children and keeping the house on his behalf, was equally important to the well-being of your family. Think of it this way. If you'd not cared for your home and children, he would have had to hire nannies and housekeepers. Their salaries would have been deducted from his salary. Therefore, your salary is the money he saved by having you at home. In addition, both of your jobs resulted in money in the bank and children who were fed and healthy. Right, I don't think she misled her husband either. OP, what you did was give your daughter a chance you weren't ever given, a chance to learn, have a job. She doesn't depend on another now that she's earning her own income. You were brave for giving her that chance. You gave her life twice over. Stop feeling guilty right this second. You did what any amazing mother would and gave your daughter access to the world, something she wouldn't have had otherwise. And you've educated yourself too. Be very proud of both of these things. Please continue to learn too. Stay safe, and I hope you can see your daughter again soon. My son, nearly adult, loves the water. Ever since he was little, he's always wanted to be either at the beach or the pool. He loves to swim, surf, etc. And I mean it when I say it's his favourite thing. We live near a beach, so sometimes he'll just go sit at the beach for a while. It's something he's been doing since he was 12. My sister and her kids were visiting, and it was going fine. But then I noticed my son was never home. I asked him about it, and he said that it's just really overwhelming at the house because his cousins never leave him alone. They're pre-tween and tween girls that adore him, so he just goes to the beach to avoid them. I told him I understood and talked to my sister, who said she'd talk to them. Well, yesterday I came home to my nieces sitting in the living room watching a movie. My son and sister were nowhere to be found. Neither of them was answering the phone either. I'm not usually concerned, but my son always texts me or answers my phone calls at least. I got the girls, went to the beach and found my son at his usual spot. But my sister was there too and she was yelling at him. She said something along the lines of, "You do realise that you aren't in some film where the main character's like connected to the sea or has magic ocean powers, right? Like, you realise that you aren't like that Percy Jackson character and your dad isn't some sea god?" My son looked incredibly upset and he has an explosive temper, so I know he was about to say something crazy, so I immediately jumped in and asked my sister what the heck her problem was. She looked taken aback, but said that she told my son to watch the girls while she went to get food, but when she came back he wasn't there and the girls were alone. My son insists that he said he was busy, but my sister insists that he didn't. They went back and forth on this without letting me get a word in, and I eventually just told my sister that this wasn't working out and that if she was going to fight and argue with my son and mock him, then she wasn't welcome in my home. She looked shocked and said that I needed to stop coddling my son and stop feeding into his ridiculous delusions. I just told her to pack her crap. She said that her daughters would remember this and that I shouldn't be surprised when no one wants the weird side of the family, meaning my son and me, around anymore. I feel bad because her daughters look genuinely upset and my son could also be lying, and I don't know, maybe his love for the water isn't healthy, but that's never crossed my mind. Am I the idiot? Edit. The mocking doesn't make sense without context. My child's father left us. When my son was younger, my brother got him into the Percy Jackson books, and my son got pretty attached to the character and would tell people that he was the character and would say that his dad was similar to Poseidon, which is why he wasn't around. I haven't read the books, so I don't know the details, but it was for a very short while when he was a lot younger. He hasn't even mentioned Percy Jackson in years. I don't know how far into the argument they were, still it strikes me that if your son had agreed to watch the kids and then left, your sister wouldn't be saying he had a delusional relationship with the water. She would be saying, "Why did you leave my kids unattended when you agreed to watch them?" Also, if she were genuinely concerned about her daughter's well-being, I'm not sure why she would have left them to go yell at your son. Anyway, not the idiot. She left her kids alone to yell at him for leaving her kids alone. She's a hypocrite and an idiot. I'm not sure how not letting someone yell at your child equals coddling, and I'm not sure why a teenager going to the beach to clear his mind is such an issue with everyone here. How is that any different from an adult, or anyone, going for a run to clear their mind? Or yoga, or reading? Do any of those things clearing your mind equal not dealing with life? She made it sound like it was incredibly weird. I doubt your son thinks he's part of the ocean. Kid or not, it's hard to respect someone who says what your sister said. Your sister really let the mask slip there when it comes to her worldview. I can't imagine your boy will forget the things she said either. Good riddance, mate. So my wife and our 2 teenagers went to tour a little animal sanctuary and rescue this past weekend while I was at work and apparently had a good time. Maybe too good of a time. Among the many animals they had, there were 3 foxes apparently, each one a former pet surrendered by its owner. 3 different owners, and I guess the volunteers and workers there talked about how they obviously can't be released, aren't accustomed to having to live purely outside with limited human interaction, but it's the best they can do until they find someone to adopt them. But it's hard to because people seem to be surrendering their pet foxes faster than new potential owners are willing to accept them these days. My daughter proposed that we adopt at least one of them since she felt bad for them and that they have nowhere else to go. Of course, I admired the thought, but to my surprise, my wife seemed pretty open to the idea and said, "I wondered the same thing. It would be great for someone to be able to give them a home. Why not us?" I tried to shut it down and say it was a crazy idea, but they kept bringing it up. Apparently, my daughter's done the research, and it wouldn't be illegal in our state or township. She's looking into what sort of enclosure we'd have to build in our yard, diet, and my wife seems to be encouraging all this, saying, "Look, it wouldn't be that hard, we have a big enough yard, it'd liven up the place," etc. I tried doing my own research, and the very first thing everyone mentions is that they stink. But they sort of rolled their eyes and said, "Oh, it wasn't that bad, none of us were that bothered by it during the tour. Dogs stink too, they'll mostly be outside anyways." But I wasn't convinced. So I asked, why do you all think these people abandoned them? There has to be some reason. I tried to put my foot down and shut the whole thing down, but then they got a bit upset and said I should at least be open-minded to see if it would make sense, and how could I be so heartless to the poor foxes, etc. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife and daughter need to ask why people surrender pet foxes faster than the rescue can find people to adopt them. From working at animal rescues 100% of the time, it's the stench. There are 8 surrendered foxes and every time it's, "We can't take the smell anymore." "Oh, it wasn't that bad, none of us were that bothered by it during the tour. Dogs stink too." Ha ha ha. That's like saying you can handle pepper spray because you had a jalapeno once. OP, you're not going to domesticate a fox like a cat or a dog. They can't be indoor pets since they mark their territory frequently and tear up their surroundings. Stand your ground. She said, we'd have to build an enclosure in our yard. And that's just the start of it, my dude. Kids get bored with regular pets and abdicate themselves from care responsibilities all the time. Just think how quickly things will go south with a finicky problem pet like a fox. Pet foxes aren't a thing. They're wild and there's a reason they got abandoned. Also, foxes are social, so adopting one would be neglectful of its social needs. Also, these animals were surrendered to professionals for a reason. They are wild animals, not domesticated or feral. Maybe try to compromise and see if they can do some hands-on volunteer work at the sanctuary with them for hands-on experience beforehand. I, 26 female, recently passed the bar exam. I've worked incredibly hard for a long time to achieve this goal, which I'm incredibly proud of. I'm the first member of my family even to attend college, let alone attain an advanced degree. My parents are very proud of me as well, and their support means a lot to me. My parents suggested throwing a party to celebrate my achievement. Nothing extravagant, just a gathering of friends and family. We started planning the party about 2 months ago and scheduled it for this past Saturday. When we were talking to people about schedule conflicts, my older brother 30 and his wife 31 mentioned that anything in the middle of the day from 1 to 4 would be difficult for them because that's when their 2 young children, both toddlers, take their naps. So he asked that we do something in the morning, like brunch. We tried to accommodate them, but with everyone else's schedules and the fact that their schedule was literally in the middle of the day, it was difficult. We decided on an early dinner and rented a private room at a restaurant from 3 to 5. My brother and his wife also live 2 hours away, so they rarely come to see any family since they've had kids. We didn't even see them for Thanksgiving or Christmas this year. I contacted my brother directly and told him how much it would mean to me for him and his wife to come to celebrate this with me. I apologized for the event's timing, but explained that it was the best time for people with the fewest conflicts. He said they would try to make it work, but he couldn't promise they'd be there. Last week, he told me he didn't think they would be able to make it and wanted to tell me in advance. When I asked why, he told me that it just wasn't going to work for their schedules. When I asked for specifics, he said the same thing, it just wasn't going to work. Before people started suggesting ideas, spending the night somewhere here was also brought up to them, but they shot it down. I still live with my parents in a 2-bedroom apartment, so according to them, there isn't enough space for them here. We suggested a hotel for them, but they said both of their kids are going through sleep regressions and they aren't comfortable trying to have them sleep in a new space when they're struggling to sleep at home as it is. I told my brother he could come by himself, but he doesn't want to leave his wife with both of the kids because their youngest has special needs and it's a lot harder with one parent. I told my brother that he had an excuse for everything and that if he really wanted to make it to the party to show support, he would. I told him that ever since he had kids, he made zero effort to be a part of the rest of the family and that if he can't be there for me to celebrate the biggest achievement of my life, he's an idiot. He told me I don't have kids, so I don't get it. They didn't attend the party. You are the idiot. 4 hours on the road for a 2-hour luncheon with young kids who rely on schedules. Congratulations on your achievement, but you're not the main character. So apologize and never mention it again. OP clearly is a self-centered child. Jeez, you did something important. That's great. You want to celebrate it. Also great. Your brother and his family can't make it. That's a shame. Your brother's an adult who's made choices in his life. The resentment you're demonstrating here about these choices is not a good look. Dude, you are the idiot. They have babies, one of which is special needs, live 2 hours away, had nowhere to stay in your town, weren't able to make it to major holidays, and you wanted them to come to hang out with you for 2 hours? I'm not sure what type of law you'll be practicing, but I hope it isn't anything involving any empathy or reasoning. You definitely need to improve in those areas. I'm a party princess, which means I dress up fictional princesses and women and have a catalogue people can pick from when they book me on what character they want. It's a job I love and I make really good money, and during the global issue I began to do Zoom calls which were more one-on-one and lasted 40 minutes. I've been doing this for 2 years and it's a job I intend to continue as long as I can, as it's very fulfilling to me. My boyfriend of 7 months, however, is rather embarrassed by this job and doesn't want me to be open to his family and friends about the job as he feels it will make me look childish or like I lack prospects, which is quite irritating as I make more money than him with this job. Still, I'd never throw that up in an argument with him. Instead, I asked him why it mattered if they thought it was childish, and he asked me to just do this for him to say I work somewhere more normal. I don't like lying, and it's upsetting to me that he wants me to do this, but he told me it's not like I can do this job forever, which I do know, but while I do it, I don't see why I should be ashamed. Should I keep the peace and tell a little fib? Not the idiot. There's nothing embarrassing about being a party entertainer. Also, what is he expecting? He wants you to make up a job and details about it, and then for the rest of your relationship, try to remember the lies you've told about this job to keep up the charade. That's nuts and a lot of mental work. On top of being dishonest and a recipe for disaster, what if they find out somehow from someone else? Like someone they know books you and they see photos or something. Then you'd look like a maniac who invented a fake job. Don't forget she has to pretend to them that she doesn't make more money than he does, or he would be offended and embarrassed. OP, let's be clear. You're an actress. That's fundamentally what you're doing, just in particular venues and circumstances. Honestly, the job sounds fun. I'd like to be a princess professionally. My boyfriend of 7 months, however, is rather embarrassed by this job. I've seen enough. No, don't ever lie about what brings you joy in life, and never date a person who's against that. You should find someone who can accept you for who you are. This relationship won't last long.